So good afternoon, Cathy. Thank you for taking the time today. My name is Tanner O'Brien, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at ActionCOACH WilCo. We're a business coaching firm focused on guiding business owners to have the freedom to grow their business, spend time with loved ones, and build a solid team. My guest today is Cathy Bauer with Cabin Coffee in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Cathy and her husband, Ed, are current clients here at ActionCOACH WilCo, and today we're going to talk to her about her business and the impact that coaching has had. So Cathy, thank you again for joining me. Why don't we start with just a bit of an introduction? Tell our viewers a little bit about you and your background, your business, and ultimately how long you've been working with our team.
Sounds good. My husband Ed and I purchased a franchise from Cabin Coffee. It's a nationwide franchise based out of Clear Lake, Iowa, and we purchased that about a little over 10 years ago. Both Ed and I have business backgrounds, so we thought, well, why not take the business experience that we have in the corporate world and put it into play for a business of our own. And the franchising opportunity was really fit what we were looking for at the time. We really had a passion for Cabin Coffee. So that's really what brought us to Cabin Coffee, and being our own, self-employed, I guess is what you would want to term that. So Cabin Coffee La Crosse was the first cabin coffee in the state of Wisconsin. So we broke the ground, east of the Mississippi, and have been doing it for a little over 10 years.
Excellent. Still going strong at 10 years.
Yep, we've survived a lot of things over the 10 years, but yeah, we're going gangbusters right now.
That's awesome. So coming from kind of the corporate background, moving into more smaller business franchise, how was that transition?
It's surprising what things translate across all businesses. You've got to purchase, you've got to sell, you've got to market. And really, Ed and I both have information or experience in all of those facets between the two of us. So adding it all together, we really just took what we already knew and plugged it into a business that had nothing to do with anything we'd done before, but all the basic elements. So it was just more of a learning curve of what those different elements brought to the table to make it all happen.
That's awesome. So really my follow-up then is why Cabin Coffee? The different franchises and such available, different businesses that you could start and jump into. Why Cabin Coffee?
I think everything points to where you are in your life at the time you're at that decision-making point. We were living in North Iowa. Cabin Coffee was in our backyard. We were familiar with the franchise because we had done business there. We were customers. And at that point in time, housing downturn, we were looking to get out of the building industry, which is our background. We were at a cabinet manufacturing facility. And in looking for that business that was going to survive a downturn, Cabin Coffee really fit that bill. So it was just being familiar with the company and wanting to take a risk and take Cabin Coffee to another state.
Awesome. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think you've been working with our team for a few months now, but you've known, I think you and Ed have known my dad for a while. So tell me a little bit about kind of what brought you all together.
Well, yeah, we've worked with Andy a long time in several different facets. When Andy was selling office products, I met him and got to know him, got to know him even more as a rep for the cabinet company that we all worked for. And really, Andy has done some things for Cabin Coffee franchising over the last 10 years. And so we were introduced to his coaching business as part of those Cabin Coffee annual franchisee meetings. And that really is what has kept him forefront in our minds as far as a business coach goes. And then again, he reached out to the franchise as the COVID process was starting to hit in March of 2020. And that's really where we came back together and started working with Andy again to make sure that, we had all of the pieces into place to survive the various shutdowns and things that have happened to us since March of 2020.
Yeah, that certainly was a crazy time.
Very.
for business owners overall, but especially the food and beverage industry. So
Oh, absolutely.
just
Yeah.
straight up congratulations for still being here today and thriving and continue to grow and move forward.
Yeah. We're pretty
It's a huge
tenacious.
compliment.
So
That's awesome. So as we talk about this coaching piece, we know it's about education, it's about accountability, really raising the level at which business owners operate. What has been the biggest takeaway or the biggest impact that either you or your business has gained through this coaching process?
if I was going to say one big takeaway, I always come back to the point where in just ahead of May 2020, when we started to think about what was going to, when things started to loosen up with all the regulations associated with food and beverage industry, um, Andy asked us, well, I know we're in a shutdown mode, but what are you doing to open back up? Because you can't sit here and just wait for that to happen, and you have to be ready. So at that point in time, all of a sudden it was like a light bulb went on. And without that prompting, I don't think we would have made that decision to start thinking about staffing and what happens when we reopen and how do we ramp back up, because it's not easy, but it's closing down, you just basically just ramp everything down. But then when you look at ramping back up, there's a lot of moving parts that have to happen. And I don't think if he would have asked that question at that point in time, if we wouldn't have been there for us, I don't think we would have been ready to open up in May without that one question, what are you doing
Mm.
to get ready? So that was a pivotal point for us. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from the last year with Andy.
That's awesome. Sometimes it is just those questions that you need to think a little bit differently than
Yeah.
what you had before that can make those big impacts. So I'd love to hear that. So knowing that, especially today, there tends to be kind of a lot of information about business coaching in general. What has been the most surprising thing to you throughout our coaching process and working with us here at Action Coach?
When you start thinking about coaching, sometimes it's all of the pieces that you think you have to have the answers for. And coming to the sessions we have with Andy, I've been surprised that I don't have to come to the table with the answers. We're more of a brainstorming process. Okay, where are we at today? What's our biggest challenge? And how are we going to solve this moment's problem? Plus look to the future, but I don't have to come to the table with all the answers. And I think that's probably been the biggest takeaway for me is, the process is about getting the answers. It's not about coming to the table with the answer.
Awesome. Love that insight. And when you look at other business owners or business leaders that are out there that might be looking for growth in their business or possibly in the market to hire a coach, what advice or what would you share with them?
I think that you really have to experience a session or two before you can even understand what it could bring to the table, because it's one of those things that you can see a picture of something, but to actually go and experience it, you need to be there and really understand the process. I couldn't describe it, and talking looking back, I can see the value in it, but until you experience it, you're not going to understand what it could bring to the table based on your individual business situation.
Awesome. So I know especially in the start of coaching, there's a lot of talk about challenges to overcome and things like that, and many business owners look for some of those answers and the reason in why hiring a coach. But it's really not always about that. Now we've just completed a quarter, getting ready to finish out the year strong, and I'm going to ask you kind of an additional question that I didn't prepare you for ahead of time, but what's the biggest thing that you and Ed are celebrating in your business having completed the first 3 quarters of this year?
Survival and growth. The growth that I would never have dreamed, going into 2021 that we could achieve. We set some goals out and thought, on paper they looked crazy, but just actually seeing them come to fruition, and that we've managed all those challenges that 2021 is throwing at us. I think, it makes it look like we can actually make this happen.
That's awesome. And congratulations on celebrating that. And if you haven't taken the time to really celebrate it, highly encourage it.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
So as we kind of wrap this up, is there anything else that you want to share about anything that we've discussed so far today, anything about the coaching process, or anything that just may be on your mind when it comes to the work that we've done with the business and just being a part of the Action Coach community?
I just think that you have to give it a shot and see it for yourself. Every business owner comes with different set of goals and values and what they hope to achieve, and sometimes you don't even know the questions to ask. So I would put a challenge out to whoever's looking to coach, to get a coach, to give Andy a shot, because I think there's a lot of value in having an outside resource ask all those tough questions.
Awesome. So for your business specifically, for anyone that's watching this video that wants to learn a little bit more about your specific cabin coffee and where to find you and where to get a great cup of coffee, how can they find out more? How can they find out more?
Well, they can visit our website, cabincoffeecompany.com, with the location specific La Crosse. They can reach out to me by email, cathy.b@cabincoffee.net. Happy to answer any email questions or, take a phone call.
Awesome. Well, Cathy, this has been really fun. And I want to thank you again for taking the time to chat with me this afternoon. Again, for all of you watching, I am Tanner O'Brien with ActionCOACH WilCo. We guide business owners to have the freedom in growing their business every single day. If you'd like more growth in your business, we'd be happy to provide you with a complimentary session to help remove those top constraints in your business and get your business growing now. That's all for today. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye for now.